Roger and his wife Caroline were kind. I was asked to teach Peter the skills of riding, fencing, and using a fowling piece. Roger knew that I could do those things, and I think he was trying to give some shape to my life. I did not mind, for Peter was a good student, and I enjoyed teaching him. Perhaps I was too good as a teacher, for after a couple of years he did not need me. It might have been that having mastered a horse, pistol, and sword, he was bored. I never bored of riding. I loved hunting by the river with a fowling piece, and whilst I rarely had the chance to use either the sword or the pistol, I still practiced each day, and my sword, my father's sword, was always sharp enough to shave with. I felt guilty, as I thought I was leeching from my father's friend. I knew that I was an expense. There were 2 horses that had to be fed, and I had a healthy appetite. My clothes needed to be laundered. Roger's wife never complained, but I was a guest in her house, and I did not enjoy the experience. Time passed, and Peter grew. My life had a pattern to it that was at first reassuring and comforting. There were no hidden surprises. I went with Roger and Peter one day to the river. It had not been our intention to go to the river. For one thing, it brought back memories of the discovery of my father's body, but after tramping through the woods to forage for mushrooms, we found ourselves by the river close to the small island that appeared at various times during the year. We sat on the bank and speculated about the island. I had studied history when I had a tutor. I knew there was a Roman fort here, and there were the remnants of a Roman bridge, in addition to the one that now spanned the river. I pointed to the island. I wonder if this was here when the Romans were around. Roger smiled. I suppose so, but why does that interest you? Peter was quickly bored, or perhaps it was me that made him bored, and he left us to find stones to skim across the river. I did not mind, as talking to Roger was as close as I could come to speaking to my father. Oh, it's just that the thought of that connects me to the past, and I find it reassuring to think of Romans being here at this very spot. We were silent for a while. I found it calming to watch the water rushing by to get to the sea. What will I do, Roger? I had called him Uncle Roger for a while, but he had insisted that as I was a man I should use his Christian name. What do you want to do? Something useful. You have been kind to me, but I cannot stay here forever. I am no leech. A fish popped up for air, and as a kingfisher swooped, it descended before it could be devoured. Perhaps I should go to the New World. My father thought it was a land of opportunity. Even as the words slipped out, I knew I would not do that. The New World had ended my father's dreams and taken his life. It would be the last place I would begin my life alone. Roger waited, and when I remained silent, he said, Use your skills. You can ride and use a pistol and a sword. The king may need men like you, and I think you would like a martial life. You could enlist in the army. I smiled. I am a gentleman and not a noble. His guards have titles. There are the Lieutenant of Durham's men, or even the militia commanded by Sir Giles. I cocked an eye and he smiled. I know that they're a source of great amusement, but you could be an officer. What, and parade when the lieutenant or the bishop wishes to have their reputations enhanced? I think not. Perhaps I could go abroad. If I sold one of my horses, I would have enough for a passage. Roger shook his head. You need not sell an animal. If that is your wish, then I will pay for your passage. You have done enough for me. The more I think about it, the better the idea sounds. I can speak French and German, and I have martial skills. But you would be an innocent abroad. Where would you start? The world of a mercenary soldier is not one I know anything about. Those words put an end to my dream, for he was right, and we returned to the house, and I went back to a life which was barely above the humdrum.